In this video, I want to go over two system monitoring tools for Linux users. And if you found the video on YouTube, I will provide the links below the video that shows you how to install them and how to use them on your system. But before I do, let's take a look at what a system monitor is. A system monitor is a software tool that provides real-time information about the performance and health of a computer system. It allows users to monitor various aspects of their system, such as CPU usage, memory usage, disk activity, network activity, and more. System monitors can help users identify potential issues, optimize system performance, and troubleshoot problems. And I actually had some trouble with my system recently, and I used one of these system monitoring tools to help me locate what my problem was and to fix it so that it sped up the booting process, or the speeding up the booting process of my computer system. Let's take a look at the first one, which is the System Monitoring Center. The System Monitoring Center is an open source application designed to provide an all-in-one solution for monitoring essential system resources, statistics, reducing the need for multiple individual tools. And this is what it looks like the first time you activate it. However, it won't have the About screen on it. You go to the dot to click on that and choose About, and this will pop up. But it will look very similar to that, allowing you to have tabs so that you can tab through each of these sections to see information about your system. Before I do get into details about this particular program, take a look at this little thing here. It's the end of support as of October 31st, 2023, and that's not quite 2 years ago, because currently at the time of making this video, it's still working on Ubuntu Mate 24.04. But the version 2.26, it basically ended. It's no longer going to receive updates. It still works for the system that I'm currently using. However, in the future, it may get an update that will update a dependency file, making this where it's no longer usable. So hopefully someone that's good at programming will see this and make a fork of this, because this is an excellent system monitoring system tool for Linux systems. Now, I'm not going to read all of this information. This is some information about it, what it's capable of doing. Now, if you have an Ubuntu or any of the Ubuntu derivatives or Debian-based systems, then you can click this particular link. Now, normally I don't like to put a link to download, but since that's the last version that's going to be updated, you can click that and download that file, or you can go directly to the GitHub website, which is here. And in the future, if they decide that they want to unarchive that, they can unarchive it, and there may be a newer version. But as of right now, this is archived, but you can still download the 2.260 deb file to your system and install it. Once you get this particular deb file downloaded, you can double click it to use the package installer that's on your system. And I'm using GDebi package installer. If you'd like to install the GDebi, if you don't have it, you can just simply copy and paste that command there. Put it into your terminal, press the enter return key, put your password, and it will install GDebi on your system. So you can then go back to the deb file, double click on it, and the package installer will open up on your system. Now, you don't have to install GDebi. Most Ubuntu and Debian-based systems have some sort of package installer that will open when you double click the deb file. And if you're coming from Windows, it's fairly similar to downloading an exe file, an executable file, and double clicking it and installing it on your system. However, you're going to have to click install the package, put your password in before it installs on your system. Most executable files for Windows, you don't have to put a password, which means it's easy to install other programs in the background on your system, which makes it easy to install a virus on your system. Here, you have to give it permission by putting a password before it can install on the system. Now, once it gets installed on the system, you should be able to find it somewhere within your menu. If you don't, just restart your system, look back in the system tools or somewhere on your system, and it should be placed within your menu. When you first click on the System Monitoring Center, it will pop up looking very similar that you see here. You will have tabs across the top and down the side. Now, when I first open it up, I'll click on the side ones. I will ignore the network one. The reason for that, when you click on network, it will reveal your current IP address. But I do have an image here where my IP address is blurred out. Here's what the CPU is. As you can see, my processor in this old PC here is an 8-core processor, so I can scroll down, click on each of the processors, and get a data reading, graphical reading, and it will give you some information down here below it. So if you take the time to read those, it will tell you how long the current system has been up and running. It will give you any additional information about the system. The next thing on the left-hand side, or the sidebar, is your memory tab. If you click on the memory tab, it will give you information about your physical RAM and your swap memory. I have 8 gigabytes of physical RAM, 2 gigabytes of swap memory, and it will show you information about how much is being used. As you can see over here, for the swap memory, at the time I took the screenshot, 30% was being used, and over here for the 7.7 or 8 gigabytes, I had almost a gigabyte free, 778.3 megabytes, and cache was 2.2 gigabytes. So it gives you information about your memory. Next is your disk. I have one SSD installed on here and 3 internal hard drives in this old system here. Now on my internal hard drives that are platter ones, those are mostly old files like my MP3s, my DVDs, my CDs that I have ripped off and stored on those. So those are on the physical drives. My actual Linux system is on the SSD along with some of the application programs. So I just click on the SSD one to show you information about my Samsung SSD, and you can look and see how much write data, read speed and write speed that was current at the time that I took the screenshot. The next one is the network, and here, as you can see, as I blurred my IP address in the bottom, but this will give you information about in this case my wireless internet. I don't have this connected to a LAN via a cable. I do use a dongle. It's a Panda dongle that allows me to get access to the internet. So I'm using a wireless adapter, and this is what it shows here. So in just a moment when I access it, I will skip the network. As you can see, this would be what it's showing up on the screen. The next one is my GPU, or my video card. You can click on that and it gives you more information, and you can actually click on each of those. Now actually, when I click here, I clicked on one of these in here to bring up this particular dialog box. So when you first click on the GPU, you can click on more information on the screen to bring up this dialog box to give you actually more information about your GPU. The next one is the last one on the left hand side of the sidebar is your sensors. So if you have sensors inside of your system and you have the software installed to activate those, so it's seen through tools such as the system monitoring center, that's a tongue twister, you then will be able to look at your temperature of the sensors that are within your system. And across the top you have some additional tabs. You have the processes that are running in the background. You can click on a process, right click on it, and you can do multiple things when you right click on it. You can pause a process, continue a process, end a process, and if it ends a process and it's not ending, you can force it to end immediately. You can change the priority of it. You can set CPU, or you can get more details about the process running in the background. Now, I don't recommend you to randomly click on any of the processes and choose end a process. That may be one of the system processes that you need, and it could cause problems. So make sure you understand what you're doing if you're right clicking and pausing or ending a process. You may want to check more details out. So if you've got something running in the background and you're not sure about it, you can click details, or you can look up that process on the internet. You can look up it gives you information about the PID. The PID is information about that particular program on your system, so that PID probably won't be matching the same as other Linux users. It could a lot of times, but the name of the application or process will be what you look up across the internet. The next one is the amount of users of that system. Now, I'm just one user. This is with the Snap Daemon and the Snapd, but I log in as my name here. If I created other users, it would show up here under users. Now, services. These are the services that are running in the background. Very similar to processes. You can right click on these, and when you right click on it, you can start one that's not running. You can stop one, restart one, reload one, enable, disable, or you can do other things about it. You can access the help or choose more details. Just like with the processes, I don't recommend you to right click on this and start or stop one without you knowing more information about this. It's very similar to your task manager in Windows, where you can bring up the task manager and end a process or a service that's running in the background. Now here's the tab that I like the most, and it's the System tab. When you click on the System tab, it gives you a brief description of your entire system. It tells you that I'm using Ubuntu 24.04.2, the long-term support, which is Noble Nombat. Now I am using Mate as the desktop environment. I'm using the Mate 1.26 0.2. Now if you're running something like NeoFetch will show Mate 1.26.1, which is actually 0.2. So this gives you a little bit more information and more correct information about your system. It shows you how much memory I have in the system, which is around 8 gigabytes of RAM. It shows that I have it set up with about 2 gigabytes of swap memory. It tells what my AMD, my video card in my system is. It tells my resolution, and it gives you additional information that I'm not going to read all of this information here, but this right here will help you with understanding what's made up inside your system. And if you want to install something, you can click on the system and look at the specifications for what you're trying to install to see if you meet the specification of a particular program. Now when you click the 4 lines at the top, very similar to a hamburger menu, it's going to display a graph show was it a CPU usage, or you can increase the CPU usage or go back to reset to the factory default. The next one is the ... You can click F5 to refresh, and this will refresh the data on your system. You can go to general settings or about. The general settings has things to where you can choose what language, and I'm chose the system language or default. The light dark, so if you like a light theme, you can drop it down and choose light or dark. It's set by default to system because I use a dark theme system wide. You can change the opacity. You can change how often that it updates. You can choose the graph history. And there's other things that you can try or look at as well. And here is the about. So let me minimize this, and I will bring up the system monitoring tool. Let me go to System Tools. It's the System Monitoring Center. I don't know why I have such a hard time saying that. Once you click on it, I like the looks of it. It's very compact. It reminds me of a Conky that you may have on your system. But this is an actual program that you can minimize and maximize or close and open at your will. Now, on the upper left-hand corner of your toolbar across the top, or your bar across the top, you can see the CPU usage, the RAM usage, your disk space, and your network that's running in the background. On the Performance tab, that's the default tab selected. Summary is the first one. It gives you a summary very similar to what you see on Stacer. If you've ever installed and used the program Stacer, it'll show you about like your CPU, your RAM usage, and your read speeds and your download speeds that's currently running. Now this is running idle on my system. The only thing I have currently running is my simple screen recorder in the background. The next tab on the left hand side, or the sidebar, is the CPU usage. Now I have 8 cores, so I could simply scroll down through here, all 8 of those. It says 7, but including 0, that's 8. So I have 8 cores. I could click on them individually, and I could get a graph, and it will show you information about each of the CPUs within my system. So that way if I have problems with one of my CPUs, I can tell which one it is by selecting on here. The Memory tab. This shows me my available memory that I have available. I have almost 8 gigabytes, 7.7. I'm currently using almost 2.9, which is 37% of my overall memory, which means I have almost 5 megabytes, 4.8 gigs free. And I'm using swap memory, about 91% of my swap memory. This is how much I do have free. There's things I could run in the background to clear it up, to speed up my swap memory, or to clear out my swap memory. Here's my disk usage. I do have my SSD, which is my Samsung SSD. That's the default one. It will show you my write speed, read speed, and it will show you some additional information about my disk. I won't click on the network because that will reveal my IP address, but I will go to the GPU, which is my graphical user, my video card. This shows what type video card I have in my system. It's an old one, and you can click show, and it will show you some additional information about the video card. Here are the sensors that I have that's activated currently in my system. If you've got a lot more sensors in your system, then you're probably going to show a lot more data within the sensors here. Now across the top you can click the process. Now this right here is where you have to know what you're doing if you're going to end a process. Let's say for example I click on this one and I right click on it. I can say pause the process, continue the process, end a process immediately, change priority, and I can even click on details, which will give me some more information about its summary. I can go and look and see how it's affecting my CPU, how it's affecting my memory, how it's affecting the disk, and the file information on where the file is located within my system. So this right here gives you a lot of information about the process running. So if you have an error message popping up saying process, and it gives you the name, as no longer responding, you can go to processes here, right click on it, and you can say end process immediately. So that way if you have a frozen process, this will allow you to end that process. Again, these are the users. This is the services, which is on here, and very similar to processes, you can right click on it and you can start, stop. And what I like about it is the details, which gives you some, and it shows you the dependencies of that file, but it gives you some information about that. Here's the system-wide, very similar to the image I showed you on my web page, and I do like this because it has very good information about what's in your system. Now let's take a look at the next one, which is the Mission Center. Now the Mission Center allows you to monitor your CPU, memory, disk, network, and GPU usage, very similar to the other program that I just showed you. It has more of a similar look to the Windows 11 Task Manager. Here's the features of it, and they're very similar features to the System Monitoring Center. Now there's multiple ways that you can install this on your computer. You can install it via app image, you can install it on FlatHub, you can go to the FlatHub website, click this button here, copy and paste and put that into your terminal. If you want to run it, you can copy and paste that in your terminal and run. You can click install if you have it set up to install by the install button. If you prefer the snaps, you can click on this here and you can install it by the install button from the Snapcraft store. However, I do like the Software Center, so I like going to my software or Software Center that it used to be called, and then once I'm going to, while this is loading and populating icons, I'm going to copy the word Mission Center, and that way I'll show you how to search for it and how you can install it on your system. Now once you have it, your Software Center or software open, paste the Mission Center and it will find it here. It's already installed, but when you click here, instead of open, this will be an install button, and before you install it, you can hit the drop down and you can choose which type of installation you want. I prefer FlatHubs over snaps, so I let the FlatHub stay the active one, and I hit the install button. Once that you've installed it, you can uninstall it by bringing back up the software store and click the trash can icon to uninstall the program. You can open this by clicking the open button, and it will open it up on your system. While it's opening, I'll close this. Another way you can open it is you can go to the System Tools and you can click on the Mission Center, which is here. Instead of reading all of these from the website, I'm going to go through and actually show you this from the actual program itself, since it's very similar to what I just showed you on the other application. Now when you first load it, it's probably going to be a much smaller size. Now when you see it load for the first time, it may look something like this, and it probably is not going to be pinned or stuck on the left side over here as you see here. You probably have to increase the size of it in order to pin it to the side over here. So when you first open it up, you're going to see the CPU, which will show you the type of CPU that's in your system. It will give you very similar to the same information that you saw on the other one. It's just in a different format or different look. Now you can click on the icon, which is the toggle sidebar, and you can edit the sidebar by clicking this little pin here to edit it, which you can turn on and turn off features. Now the SSD is where I have my Linux installed on it. The other hard drive is where I have like just random data collected over the years. So I'm going to disable some of these so it won't look so cluttered. And I don't use the wired LAN. I do use a wireless network. However, I won't click on this one because it will reveal my IP address. So if you want to pin these, now with it small, it will pin very easily, or if it's not pinning, you can resize it, and because I don't have but a few here, you don't have to resize it very large for it to pin these on the sidebar. Now the next one is the memory. So when you click on the memory tab, it will give you the information like it says available 4.8 gigabytes free. It shows you how much is in use out of the it's showing 8.28 gigabytes where the other one showed 7.78 gigabytes, but anyhow it's around 8 gigabytes total. It shows you how much is available, how much is in use, and it shows you my swap file as well. You can scroll down to get additional information on this. Now my SSD, which is my hard drive that contains my Linux operating system, you can click this and it will show you your read speed and write speed. I'm not actually doing anything except for recording my video. It shows you how much is being written, how much is being read, so it gives you information about your hard drive that you currently have selected on the left hand side or the sidebar. If I were to click my wireless, it will show me information about my wireless internet connection, and it will reveal the IP address here. Now what I like across here is the apps and the services. Here's where, like, if you wanted to close down an app, and I'm not going to close the simple screen recorder, but if I right click, I could say stop or force stop, or I could get information about this particular program that's running in the background. So I could stop the simple screen recorder by right clicking and choosing stop, which I'm not going to do because I'm currently using it. Or if, for example, my weather app was causing it to misbehave, so I could come right here, right click, say stop or force stop, and it will stop my Meteo weather app, which displays my temperature and things in my taskbar across the top. And if I wanted to know more about this, I could right click on it, or right click and choose more details, and it will give me additional details about that particular app that's running in the background. Here's processes that you could do the same thing. You could click onto and stop, force stop, or get details about it. Here are the services that are running in the background. So if I wanted to know more about our service, I could right click, and this particular service is not running. And let me show you the different types of services. You got the green service, which if I click details, it's currently not enabled, but it's running. So right now, when it booted up, this was started the service during boot up, and it's currently running, so it's green. This one here, if I go to details, the gray one, it's currently not enabled, but it was enabled, but it stopped. So I could re-enable it by hitting the play button. However, if you're not sure about what this is, don't enable something unless you're sure about what it is. Now there's another color, which is yellow. Here, if I click the details, this one has stopped, but it is enabled. So it's enabled during boot up, but it's not being used. So since it's not being used, the program is stopped in the background, so it's not running. Now I had a problem with my system. It was kind of sluggish when coming on. So when I looked up here, I saw I had 139 running services in the background, and I had 2 failed services out of a total of 329. When I scrolled down through here, I noticed that was ClamScam, the antivirus program. What I had to do is I had to look up that particular program, and I found out how to fix it, but I knew exactly what to do. Here it is. And I didn't screen capture where the error was, but it told me the name of the program, and when I googled the name of the program and the error messages that went along with it, I noticed that all I had to do was go in here and put this into my terminal, press the enter key, and then what it did was it gave the right permissions to this particular file. So when I rebooted my system, it came on faster, and when I checked here, it showed there was 0 failed services out of a total of 329. So however many services that you have on your system, if you have any failed services, then you can use this as a troubleshooting tool to go to the one that's in red, right click on it, go to details, and it will tell you more about the information. It will give you the log file to let you read the information on giving you information on how to fix the program. So these are great tools, not just for monitoring the CPU, the GPU, but to monitor the apps that you have running in the background and the services that you have running in the background. So if you need to use it as a troubleshooting tool, you can actually locate the problem with your system, and it will provide you information so that you can fix your issues. Now over here on the dot, I can choose the system style, the light style, that hurts my eyes, the dark style, go back to system. You can choose the preferences, which you can scroll down over here. There's a little scroll bar to allow you to change a lot of the preferences to the program. You can look at the keyboard shortcuts. You can scroll down. These are the keyboard shortcuts, and then the last one is about, so that you can go to these and you can click on these to provide you with information or websites about the Mission Center. Now this one here is currently developed, so between the two, I'm not going to say one's better than the other one. However, this one is in current development, meaning that as your system changes and updates and upgrades, more than likely the developer here will continue to upgrade the software, so that way as you're updating or upgrading, more than likely a dependency file will not cause a problem on your system. However, the system monitoring system may cause trouble in the future as your system or your Linux version, as it upgrades, it may upgrade a dependency file that this needs, and this may stop working. But as of right now, the time of making this video, both of these programs work excellent. Hopefully this video has helped you, and have a great day.